Gary, what would you like to add to that?
I was just going to add that Don was doing fine before he chose to follow my personal investment strategy.
Great.
And I think the mayor covered if you look at the graphs, Don has made through the investment policies, and as you know, local government is restricted by Idaho code to what we can invest in. We have to invest in certain things, and the local government investment pool is the safe investment. Unfortunately, it's so conservative, and they have to keep a lot of their funds liquid, so the returns are very minimal. Through good investment practices and a good investment policy, we've been able to capitalize upon that, and over the past 6 years, we have realized $5 million in excess of what we would have realized if that money had been invested in the local government investment pool. So even with this setback, the market's changing. Even with this setback, we are still $3.5 million ahead of where we would have been had we just gone with the local government investment pool. So, and as Don indicated, we could hang on to these if we held on to them long enough, and I'm talking years and years, we might come out even. But as it sits right now, under our governmental accounting standards, even the unrealized losses have to be booked. So there's really no benefit to hanging on to these things, and what it does is it will restrict our ability for Don to take advantage of good investment opportunities that the law allows us to do. So with that, I certainly join his recommendation that we book those losses at this point.
Sue?
Well, just for the general public, when you say the interest rates go up, which interest rates are those? That's the interest rates that the Fed does to banks? That's the interest rate that on loans? What is that specifically?
Well, there's several key indicators that you use, and it depends on the differences between those. And it's the 2-year, the 5-year, and the 10-year bonds that we track.
That's
right?
what
that I
they
track.
pay. That's what
and
they
that's
pay.
what the Treasury pays for debt, and then that's what the city's able to go out and buy, are either agencies or treasuries. That's what we can do legally. We can't get into the stock market. That's where people that have investments in bonds are selling their bonds because the stock market's a better place to go. And I think personally there's going to be a correction in the stock market, but not enough to the magnitude that will return these interest rates. So.
My other question was, when you talk about losses, are these losses of principal or losses of earnings?
Because we've already captured these earnings into our principal.
Oh, so it's now counted.
Now it's part of our principal amount, and so it would be principal.
Okay, but if you weren't counting the $6 million we'd earned, it would have been out of earnings. I understand that you take past earnings and add it to principal,
Correct.
but okay.
So, Don, in the great scheme of things, what would happen, or what will happen, if multiple other cities with similar holdings also sell off? And what's the general economic impact of that, not for our individual cities, but for us collectively?
As in talking to a lot of the brokers, there are a lot of agencies or city governments that are in a larger pickle than I am, because my step-ups that are so large in step they don't have a loss. I was shown lots and lots of bonds where I'll just give you an example. Let's say that it's 1% for a year, and then it goes to 1.25% and 1.5%, and then 2, and then 2.25% and 2.5%. And I thought it was kind of presumptuous on the trader's part to predict the next 5-6 years trajectory of interest rates. So I always try to buy bonds that would get called. And so I've been buying long-term bonds for years, and none of the bonds would last over a year or even 2. So none of the bonds that I held 2 years ago are even in our portfolio, even though there were longer-term bonds than 2 years. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I think there's cities out there that haven't taken the risk because they're in the local government investment pool, and there's cities out there that have agencies that have. I can't speak to how many cities don't do local government investment pool entirely. We are just one of those that haven't. And as a result of that, we've got these kind of earnings.
Okay, Walter, you have something?
So are you indicating that, in your guesstimation, the city of Moscow's been more heavily in bonds than a lot of cities?
I would say yes in Idaho.
Okay. And second question, are you going to move this money into the local government investment pool?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And my thought is that what Bernanke's not running for Federal Reserve Chairman. He's going to be exiting out at the end of this calendar year. And my thought is that when we get more traction about where rates are going to go with the new chairman, then I'll know more about where we're going to be putting our money. The downside of that is that our interest income is going to go down considerably because of that. It'll be more liquid, but it'll also return a lot less more money to the city. You can see the earnings that we have had. Up until April of this year, we were sitting at about $350,000 in income is what I was predicting. And as of June, we had $275,000 of income that got washed away in this fast rate acceleration that just happened.
You know, I would like some consensus from the city council. Don doesn't officially require the permission, but I think it would be perhaps prudent for him to have the backing of the city council in circumstances as severe as this one. I think it's a difficult thing for us as a city to face, and I think it's important that we are facing it in a transparent kind of a way.
Thank you, Nancy.
I, for one, appreciate Don Palmer's coming forth, bringing what appears to be a very difficult circumstance to the council and to staff, and I, for one, feel as though you've got a handle on it. You caught it as early as you could, and I think I support what you want to do.
Could I just ask the council if there's general consensus here for Don's?
I would move we have a vote of confidence.
Excuse me,
Yes.
that was not a noticed item, it is a report.
can't. It's a
So
report.
consensus, I think, is fine. A motion, I don't think would be
Okay.
appropriate.
Okay, but consensus would be good, because I did introduce this as being for the council's consideration,
It
and
was what I
so
did
they
in
are
COG.
considering that. So just in general, are we having people nodding heads around here?
Fine.
Wayne? Yeah, Wayne, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Don, you know, you talk a little doom and gloom here, and you feel bad. I don't see why you should feel that way. This is the way the market is. You have good days and you have bad days. Anybody that's been investing for very many years at all understands that. On a personal level, you know, you can ride it out, but when we're talking about with our money, with the city money, we have to be a little bit more fluid. You have to make decisions a little quicker. And I appreciate what you're doing. You're certainly more knowledgeable, I think, than the collective knowledge of everybody on the council here. So I trust what you're doing, and I don't look at this as necessarily being a bad thing. It's just the way the market flows. So move on. Absolutely.
Walter, anything to add to that? You and I were in discussion this afternoon about it.
No, ma'am, not really. I recognize Don's expertise and the way he follows this a lot closer than I do. I'm a little puzzled about what the stock market's done, which is not fall upon Bernanke's statement, continued to climb, and I don't want to get into that tonight. You and I can meet in your office and chat about it over the bowl of popcorn. But I've never really understood bonds that much, so I'm not really qualified to discuss them. But no, I've got no problem with it.
Okay. Any comments?
I trust
Tom?
John, I trust Don's
It's easy for you-
judgment on this.
Easy for you to
John's
say.
judgment?
John's judgment.
Very good. Well, this is the way we do business in
No,
Moscow,
it sounds
Idaho,
fine to me.
to make sure that the public is as fully informed as they can be, even when the news isn't always good. And in this case, it is not, but we're looking to brighter times sometime down the road as regards our investments.
And if we hadn't had the over 6 million, we could, we still have 4.5 that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So.
That's right, which is more than I have at home. So, there you go. Okay.
Or anywhere.
Don, do you have the feedback that you were seeking? Or
Yes,
the
I did. Thank you very much.
Good questions that perhaps
Yeah,
give you some
I appreciate your support
awareness?
very much.
Okay.